You suddenly find yourself on stage for your own TED Talk. With no prior planning, what's a topic you can discuss for 18 minutes? How the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand is directly tied to the creation of hentai. Say nothing the entire time in close with, most life is just showing up. Open your mouth as if you're about to say something now and then. That's actually so inspiring. This is what TED Talks are for. Pretty sure fish caught at sea do this too, open their mouths now and then, giving a silent TED talk on the unfairness of life before they suffocate and end up on someone's platter. Only to then close it back and then get really deep into thought. The audience will wonder just what's going on in this peculiar man's head. The most important part is making individual eye contact with every single audience member while chugging a glass of milk. Per audience member. As a lactose-intolerant man, this comment just gave me diarrhea by proxy. As a whey-intolerant man, this comment made me vomit, gave me heartburn, and gave me constipation by proxy. Things that people aren't routinely taught growing up that they will undoubtedly need as an adult. Like how there are dozens and dozens of templates and examples on how to start a relationship but basically none on how to end it, in a good way? What? I'm finding myself struggling with the exact opposite. I can end a relationship peacefully, but I have literally no idea how to get into a long-term relationship. You get into a relationship, but don't have any preconceived notions of where it goes. You keep it not too serious, you communicate with the counterparty, and you keep working on it. While keeping it balanced. Crap, sounds like hard work, and it is. Source, 20 years this year. Been happily married a while now, and we figured that the trick to our particular long-term relationship is a pretty simple 3-step system. Life is an obstacle course we tackle together. Groceries? Do it together. Budget? Do it together. Cleaning? Do it together. Walking the dog? Do it together. Dealing with mental illness? Together. Getting the mail? Together. If it's a chore, errand, or just something that's not leisure time fun, it's time to come together. Split the load 50-50. Battle to do 51. Neither of us get railroaded into feeling the other is just along for the ride, or not pulling weight. And if you do it together, you might just find some fun in it. Spend at least an hour alone for yourself, every day. Hobby time is important. Alone time is important. Individual friend time is important. We are here for each other, but we're not each other's entire universes. Game with the boys. Go for drinks with the girls. Get away from each other after all that work, at least for a little bit every day. We're still our own people with our own interests that may not interest the other, and we need time to pursue that without feeling bad about it. Have fun with activities you enjoy together, but remember that you're individuals too. Accept the olive branch when it's offered. We rarely disagree enough to fight anymore. But when we were younger, dumber, and poorer, we definitely did. Sometimes a foot goes in the mouth. Whether either of us is ready to apologize, if one of us offers that olive branch, we take it. A simple 1-second hand on a knee. A glass of water brought over in silence. Dinner put on the table. Yelling from the kitchen if the other wants a soda. Take it. Accept it. Even if you don't want a soda. Accept the signal. Doesn't mean the issue is resolved, but it does remind you both that you're still there for each other. And, at least for us when we did bicker, that little reminder was exactly what we needed to get our jets cooled. Good luck to everyone in any length of relationship. They are tricky. I wish you all the best, and I hope you all find your own rules to make your relationships the happiest ones in your lives. Such as how to look up questions about something rather than ignoring it and blaming others for your lack of knowledge. Oh, interesting one. Some examples? One I can think of, believing adult figures or higher-ups or role models to be flawless, always correct, just and knowing. After cooking rice, leaving it on a table for longer than 2 hours can make you really sick. Bacteria spores grow and produce a toxin. Reheating the rice won't kill the spores. Refrigerate your rice ASAP, people. Edit. To all the doubters, go read for yourself. Web link. I would discuss what it feels like to give a TED Talk with no prior panning. I gave that speech in my college public speaking course. They asked me to give a speech about myself the first week of the class, so I went above and beyond and watched The Lion King and then presented Simba's life as if it was mine. Isn't this a joke from The Office? Reminds me of TED Talk. YouTube link. Cheddar vs. Monterey Jack. To all those who demand answers, I shall go up to the top of the mountain and ponder. When I return, your wait shall end. Go on. Your username tells me you are well prepared for this one. Indeed. Monterey Jack melt good. Cheddar don't melt good. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. The Horus Heresy. Edit, by the Emperor, this one blew up. I scrolled and scrolled, knowing purely through faith in the God Emperor of mankind that one would have come before me. Have faith in the Lord of Man, and humanity shall take its place as the heralds and rightful rulers of the galaxy. I was there the day Horus slew the Emperor. Why professional wrestling is actually a form of performing arts? 8-year-old me, wrestling is so cool. Go John Cena. 12-old me, pro wrestling is stupid, it's all fake. 24-year-old me, pro wrestling is a very well choreographed act that involves incredible physical stunts and is much more complex than it appears. One of my best memories growing up watching wrestling was when me and my dad got to the arena extremely early and I asked a wrestler, how does the ring feel, does it hurt? He picked me up and let me play in the ring as he was going over his notes with his tag team partner. So cool. Do you remember who it was? It was either Hawk or Animal, but it took me a couple years before I actually knew who these people were. I know my dad knew who they were just by the look on his face, but I didn't really click until years later. Dude, what? You got to be in the ring with the Legion of Doom? The crazy thing is most of the greatest wrestling matches in history, usually in NJPW, aren't even choreographed. Certain spots are agreed upon beforehand, usually things using props and the ending sequence, but the wrestlers pretty much go in and make the match up on the fly, similar to how we as kids went out into the backyard and did it. They're just such amazing athletes with years of training that their mutual improvisation is amazing storytelling, and ours was just kids slapping the crap out of each other. It's a fascinating history. Roman gladiators were like modern professional wrestlers. It was all about the spectacle, and combat was intended to be bloody and yet non-lethal for the star gladiators. They did tours, advertising, merchandising, and had public rivalries to draw the fans. And that's a pale shadow compared to the fame of chariot racers. They were the rock stars of the day, and some became fabulously wealthy in their death races. Alcoholism and its multi-generational impacts on a family. Yep. I talk about addiction basically all day. 18 minutes probably isn't enough time to cover a topic well enough, but that's a good start. That's the pressure needed to get better if your message should be concise, and typically it should be. I genuinely like to hear more. Not original poster, but, in my own nutshell, alcoholic behavior by a parent shapes/informs tendencies in the kids. Might be codependency, or neglect, abuse, or inability to see and interact with the child in healthy, supportive ways, etc. Child grows up expecting these dysfunctional patterns and feels safeable in those dysfunctional, unsupportive relationships. They seek out people who feel familiar, have babies, and persist the roller coaster. Possibly alcoholic themselves, maybe not. It can keep being passed along indefinitely. I went to a Taylor Swift concert a few years ago and witnessed one of the saddest things I've ever seen. I think about it all the time and feel so sad. My friend and I arrived at our seats to see a lovely mother-daughter duo a couple rows in front of us. Little girl was maybe 9/10 and mom was somewhere between 37 to 45. Mom was clearly a lose, dancing and singing, swaying a bit. Also, had that, I only eat alcohol skinny vibe going. My friend and I kept making eyes at each other while we watched this woman get looser and looser. Kid is getting frustrated. Clearly not the first time this has happened. Mom eventually sits down, barely awake. We just kept an eye on the little girl. Maybe 20 minutes into the actual concert, mom pukes all over the row S in front of her. The row goes running. Next thing you know, security is there. That poor little girl was bawling so hard, just so upset they had to leave. All I could think about was how they probably had to get police involved to get that girl home, maybe even a CPS visit. I think about how that definitely wasn't the first time and probably wasn't her mom's addiction ruined an event. It hurts my heart. Option 1. How to revive someone in an opioid overdose with naloxone. Option 2. My latest plan for surviving and don't starve. I'm here for option 2. Oh, you poor, miserable bastards. Retired engineering professor here. I can go for hours, with equations, and most of you will be asleep within minutes. You don't scare me. I'm married to a physics teacher. Introduction to physics. What is physics? Physics comes from the ancient Greek word physika. It's at this point that you'll want to start taking notes. Physika means the science of natural things. And it is there, in ancient Greece, that our story begins. It's a warm summer's eve in ancient Greece. You're visiting your local market, or agora. You're all about to get schooled in NJ land use law on how to properly process a variance application. Hope you are hanging onto your seat. The lore of the Cars universe. I have so many questions/theories that I've made an extensive list. Here's a select few. How do vehicles have consciousness? Do they need gasoline to live like an equivalent to food? How are they born and how do they age? When they die, are they buried or are the parts repurposed? Thank you, quarantine, for allowing me to dive so deep into this topic. We also know from Cars 2 that Catholicism exists in the Cars universe, because there is a Pope Mobile. Therefore, at some point in the past, a car Jesus supposedly lived and was crucified. The Cars universe gets real weird if you look at it too closely. Oh my god, laughing out loud, yes, car Jesus. Wait, is the Pope Mobile the Pope itself? Or is there a Pope car in the Pope Mobile? Or is the Pope Mobile the Pope, and he travels in a Pope Mobile? Do they need gasoline to live like an equivalent to food? We know the answer to this, at least. No. They need it to move, but when lightning ran out in the first movie he just rolled to a stop, he didn't die. Then they have fuel just for movement, not to sustain their consciousness? Then they practically never die. Every torn down scrap chassis you've seen up on bricks or cinder blocks is an immortal car soul. Unable to move or speak, they live without a sense of space or time, trapped and alone. Who hold my breath as I wish for DEF? Oh, God, please wake me. Now they need battery to run their brain. After they run out of gas, there is a time limit before their battery dies. The movie Planes, starring Dane Cook, was an expansion on the Cars cinematic universe. Involves a character who was a naval fighter plane during World War II, which means that there was a World War II in the Cars universe. This, of course, brings up a lot of questions. Was there a Cars Hitler? A Cars Holocaust? A Cars Hiroshima? Are there tanks in the Cars universe? Are the tanks sentient too, or are they piloted by other cars? Edit. Fighter, not Forster. Don't even know how it ended up with that. Also, modifications. Do they qualify as plastic surgery? If you replace all of your parts, are you in fact the same car or are you different car? Where does the soul of the car reside? The in-depth lore of the Clone Wars. Good soldiers follow orders. How to generate great ideas by duping idiots on the internet to share theirs. Greek mythology. Any of it. My 15-year-old self that just finished reading all the Percy Jackson books, I have prepared for this moment all my life. My favorite shows and movies, and why I like them so much. Actually, I could also rant about how awesome NCIS used to be and how absolutely horrible it is now for more than just 18 minutes. The tragedies of Australia's Great Emu War. I would watch that TED Talk. I can do you one better. In fact, 3 better. Take your pick. YouTube link. Sex, but then I would cry for the final 17 minutes. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Uwu. The Tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. Magic the Gathering, probably. Been playing since '94, and I still suck. Probably not spending enough money. Honestly, how we're now in the post-truth era, and no one cares if something is true or not. In fact, it seems we are in a dystopian era, which explains your statement. Sounds silly, but bratwurst. One of two things: how Dan and Dave completely effed up the last 3 seasons of Game of Thrones. Starting with Season 6 and ultimately ending at Season 8, which is a crime against humanity. Or, I can talk about hospice and palliative care because of my job. Which may be less depressing than the GOT talk. How abuse is still abused even if they never hit you. Original poster replies. Relatable. It wasn't physical abuse, it was verbal. It wasn't what was said. It was what was left unsaid. Futurama. I talk about my struggles and the emotions I'm experiencing on my journey from suicidal ideation to wanting to live. Logistics. Wendover Productions, is that you? History or music? I'm going for hours. Hiking the at, CD, or PCT. Why a ham sandwich is in fact a hot dog. If I were in the audience, I would get up and fight you. Theology. And 18 minutes wouldn't even get me started. I could do one on how small my dick is and how it doesn't even work. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.